first of all, explain to us who these fangirls are. Are they mostly women? What's their gender, demographics? Where do they come from?
Thanks so much for having me. So first, fangirls as a phenomenon has nothing to do with politics. Imagine sort of Justin Bieber fans age 14 through 24. And every time that a Justin Bieber song received criticism in the news, they would leap online to attack whoever was criticizing their favorite artist. That was the same in China. You had artists like Chris Wu and Wang Jiar, so Jackson Wang, and their intense, relatively fanatical fan base who spent much of their time online defending their favorite artists. Now, that turned political over the last 6 months with the Hong Kong protests. It began when some of these favorite artists, Jackson Wang in particular, actually Hong Kong born, but is extraordinarily well known and well liked in mainland China. He was receiving a lot of criticism for his support of mainland China in the face of these Hong Kong protests. And so all of the fangirls, all of his fans took to defend him. They took to the web to defend him, using the tools and weapons at their disposal, which are memes, GIFs, and sort of what was said before, chuzheng, comment rating. Imagine hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fans flooding onto the comment section of a post online, of an article written about the Hong Kong protest, to voice their support of both Chinese artists and then ultimately China itself. So these typically age 14 through 24, it's a misnomer. It was just primarily women, but now it's young people all around the country who feel like their country, the country of which they are a fan in this case, is not getting a fair shake in foreign media and wants to stand up for brother China.
So let's talk a little bit about the Western perception, though, because when we see these patriotic postings, these internet warriors coming out of China, people tend to link it to, say, the 50-cent army, right? How much they get paid in order to make these patriotic postings. So does this relate at all with the fangirls, or is it a completely different phenomenon?
Well, it's always a mix with China. My warning to folks is to not write this off as simply a Chinese government propaganda effort. There is a real rise in patriotism in China. There's a real rise in nationalism in China. When we look at China, we tend to focus on the government. But when you're within China, you think of the last 30 years of incredible economic development. You don't think of that as a macro political or macroeconomic phenomenon. You think of your village turning into a town, turning into a city. It's your lived experience. So that everyone is deciding to, or much of the media decides to attack China, or what's perceived to be an attack on China, and not approach the issues of China with empathy, very consistently creating an us versus them narrative. There's a real base within China who is fed up with that treatment, particularly in the media. And so while the flames of this fire, of this sort of nationalistic fire that we're seeing, are certainly being fanned and stoked by propaganda within China, the heart of it, the real fuel for that fire is organic within China, a real sense of pride and a feeling that they're not treated fairly in the world of international, particularly media opinion.
Zach, I don't think there'd ever be enough time to get into the number of differences between Justin Bieber, popular musical artists, and the Chinese Communist Party. Are these fangirls simply unaware or willfully ignorant of things such as Tiananmen Square, the oppression of the Uyghurs, the Long March? I'll stop the list there.
No. So there is broad recognition of the flaws of the Chinese government within China. With that being said, and as an American, we've sort of seen this over the last several years, it's not unique to China, the sort of willful ignorance of what a country does on the world stage, or an intended focus on some of the positive aspects. There's an increasing, actually, awareness from within the study abroad community outside of China. So those who are exposed to the best education in the UK, the best education in Australia, the best education in the United States. Part of this fangirl contingency and this increasingly nationalistic youth contingency is actually based abroad. So these are people who are exposed to international news. These are people who are exposed to differing thoughts and opinions than the sort of propaganda ecosystem created within China. But it's also recognition that, yes, our country is flawed, but so are other countries as well.